Tantor Audio, a division of Recorded Books, presents Midnight by Brenden Carlson, narrated by Paul Heitsch. We are what we pretend to be, so we must be careful about what we pretend to be. Kurt Vonnegut, Mother Night. Chapter 1. God damn it! Not again! I was outside the warehouse in the meatpacking district. A bunch of boys in blue were stacked up beside the main entrance. Patty Sinclair, my first partner, my old war buddy, the closest thing I've got to a best friend, led the pack with rifle in hand. Even before a raid, he had to side-sweep his hair. "Ready, El?" I groaned. "No." "All right. Moving in on your go." I shut my eyes, trying with all my might to melt the scene, willing something else to appear instead. Opening the metal double doors onto the warehouse floor revealed a battlefield of mud and blood and shit. Hell on earth, eliciting whistles from NCOs and artillery alike. No, something else, anything else. A change for once. Then I saw my old police cruiser and the Lower East Side diner behind me. Yeah, this one will do. Better times. Well, as good as they'll get. I had just popped into the diner to grab a stuffed pig, a breakfast sausage wrapped in a pancake, a new favorite snack of mine after seeing Commissioner Robbins order one a few weeks back. An hour after the 6 o'clock shut-off, the plate above me was calm, with the last rays of daylight gleaming off its eastern towers. The diner was just at the edge of the plate, which granted some of the buildings here a few hundred yards of sunlight and fresh air without the monolithic turd looming over them. A penny slammed against the hood of my cruiser, leaving a dent as large as my thumb, and reminding me of the assholes living up top. Goddamn upper city folk. As I got behind the wheel of my police cruiser, the motion shook a glob of syrup loose from my treat, flinging it onto the seat. Ah, shit. I grabbed a napkin out of my glove box, moving the spare .38 in there to clean the stain. "Really?" the rusty automatic next to me remarked. Glowing blue eyes, a gutted, wire-filled left arm, and shaggy plain clothes. My last partner. Hey, if you were human, you'd love eating these. I bit into the stuffed pig, looking at the machine as it groaned. If I were human, I would enjoy much better things than eating one of those. Oh, yeah? I swallowed the mouthful of dough and pork, feeling my energy shoot through the roof. What would you rather do? Honestly? My partner looked out the window and smirked, at least as much as a machine could. I'd want to ride around in a manual. Give me a big old robot, some 20mm ammunition, and let me have a day of it. The lower city would be clean in a few hours. I laughed as I bit into the snack again. You sound like a friend of mine. A pretty sensible friend, sounds like. Who is he? Patty's brother, Eddie. He's not around anymore. What was he like? He was a man who liked his cars and his giant fucking robots. No wonder me and Patty get along so well. And me and you. I must be a half-decent replacement. Finished with my snack, I got the car started up. Don't tell him that. He might get upset. And why aren't you upset? Because, like you said, you're a half-decent replacement, I smirked. It's like I get to ride with Patty's brother every day. Har, har. Let's get a move on. Don't want to be late for the car show. I heard they've got some of those European models. The blue eye raised its rudimentary eyebrows suggestively. If you get what I'm saying. You don't even know what you're insinuating, I responded, pulling the car out of the parking spot. You just like giving the eyebrows because Patty taught you that. Yeah, fair. I got no idea what it means. My partner laughed and shrugged. Anyway, get a move on, Roche. I'll kill you if I miss this. I turned the car over and did as he said. No problem, James. Fucking blue eyes. Back to the land of the living, I woke up in a city that can't sleep. On a Tuesday. It was definitely past shut-off time. The regular lamp-based plate light had been replaced by blinking warning lights, indicating that the turbines high above were open, revealing starlight and the full moon through their semicircular openings. A warm draft drifted down into the lower city, and the lights reflected off my window, alerting me to my own tardiness. My watch told me it was 9 at night. Staying under the plate mixed up night and day too much. A rotorbird screamed past my apartment, the noise rattling the walls and windows enough to fully shake the sleep off of me. Sleep was a commodity I enjoyed in short bursts, so I'd forced the habit of taking every moment I could in my bed. As I sat up, my body went through its automatic motions. I grasped a cigarette and clenched it between my lips. I looked at the lighter in my hands as I lit the dart. My last one had broken, but thankfully my employer had gotten me a new one. No charge. The engraved eye on the base of the lighter looked right through me. I placed it face down on the table. I didn't need to be more creeped out than I already was. Outside my bedroom window, the plate was hanging low, the snow that drifted through the turbines caressing the buildings and street below. My building creaked, bearing the weight of the world on its shoulders as one of the control points leading right up to the upper city above. Down below, traffic was congested all over, judging by the horns and sirens, but otherwise it was a night like any other in the lower city. I stood, put on some slacks, and walked to the bathroom to begin my ritual. I shaved as best I could, splashed water on my face, then went to the kitchen for coffee. The calendar on the wall said December 6, 1933, a month before my birthday, and nearly a month after the cop killer case, with nothing to show for it besides the lower city precincts being hounded daily for any information on the person responsible for cracking FBI agent Edgar Masters' head in. Who knows whether they were actually in the dark or if they were trying to give off false ignorance. If it was the latter, they must have been as pissed as they were scared after Masters showed up as a bloody smear. That was what you got for trying to muscle in on the Iron Hands. With the coffee done, I got the rest of my outfit on, along with my coat, and went downstairs to get some breakfast. The elevator, I was surprised to see, was manned by a blue-eye lift bot in a red bellboy outfit. I snickered, leaned against the back wall, and called for the ground floor. The machine unenthusiastically depressed the bottom left button. I cleared my throat. So they're hiring Blue Eyes again, huh? I thought with second prohibition, last greenie kept breaking the buttons. After all, not like they can think for themselves, it said, in a flanging voice, shifting uncomfortably in its restrictive and, quite frankly, ridiculous clothing. Seems people are starting to remember that there's a reason Blue Eyes are blue-eyed. They can actually do their jobs. Ah, you must be happy then. I gave a stiff smile. More job opportunities than just GE or garbage collection, eh? Do you get to press the buttons in the executive elevator to the upper city? The machine gave a deadpan stare, as only a mouthless, seemingly emotionless machine could. Any more questions? Sir, I finished for it. Don't push me. I exited the elevator and went through the lobby. Outside, the old Cossack Yuri was at his cart plopping new hot dogs on the grill for the night shift crews as they came by for their handheld dinners. He broke into a little dance when he saw me approach. "Detective," he said, getting a dog ready for me. "Another late night?" "Yeah, I run best at this time." "Ah, and you need fuel for adventures." He handed me the dog, and I dropped him a tip. "Do you have anywhere warm to go, Yuri? I hope you're not out here all night." He was a short, chubby man, but I thought maybe his cheeks looked a little less full than usual. "Nyet, I stay in lobby of building at night. Security guard is nice. Let me rest on couches. Good people. Like you. I'm not good people, I chuckled. You ever need a place to stay, let me know. I owe you that much. You give me business. I owe you much more. Good evening, Mr. Roche. I concluded our interaction with a wave and was soon leaning against the black Packard, a rental from a friend of mine who was looking after my car. I didn't want to be spotted driving a vehicle with a broken window and dozens of bullet holes in it. Plus, I still needed to lie low after my last endeavor, and my Talbot wasn't exactly subtle. I lit a fresh cigarette and gazed up at the plate, the enormous steel slab separating the elites from the upper city from the rest of us down below. It blocked out natural light 22 hours a day and literally sat on the lower city, on top of the all-powerful and well-protected control point buildings, of which my apartment building was one. A constant reminder that we were the have-nots. For now, the plate's borders ended at the edge of Midtown, but expansion plans would have it stretch from Battery Park to Yorkville. That was the plan, anyway. The prospect of covering Central Park would probably ruffle too many feathers. I spotted an automatic clad in black approaching, looking quite chipper despite the horrible temperature. I couldn't believe it still walked here every night from Stuyvesant. Crazy bastard. I needed to get it a car. "Detective," my partner, Alan Ersley, greeted me. "Constable?" I grinned saying that. "Looking sharp, as always." "I do try, Detective." Hard to believe it had caught on so quickly to idioms and metaphors and slang. A month ago, when we'd first met, it had been serious as hell and had a head as thick as concrete. Now it had smartened up. I still got goosebumps sometimes, seeing its realistic facial movements. "You haven't come by the precinct in a while?" Alan nodded. "No, I have not." Oh boy, it's started. "I suspect that is because you've been busy screening the many calls you've been receiving. You screen them every night we're together, and you always hang up unless it's Sergeant Sinclair or Commissioner Robbins." Perceptive as ever, Al. Well, some of the cops who can't be bothered to do their jobs have been giving away my phone number to civilians, expecting me to be their magic cure-all. "Have they done this before?" "It happens every few months, until I tell them to cut it out. Then it starts back up again." "That does explain your terse tone when answering the phone." It was getting more observant and snarkier. "Nevertheless, the 5th Precinct hasn't asked for your assistance with anything for the past month or so now, yes?" "Yes." "Therefore, you should be free tonight to fulfill a civilian night call, seeing as the other precincts currently have no need for you." I groaned. "Alan, I believe you need to work on your people skills." I tried to keep my focus on the plate above me. "Is that a fact?" "And it might help you feel you're making a difference in this city." "I am making a difference," I snapped back. "And saving a kitten out of a tree isn't going to help save this city." "But it could instill hope." "People don't need hope. People need a solution." Alan paused for a moment before responding. "People need hope to inspire them to find solutions of their own, and they won't feel hopeful if the only thing they get from your end of the line is a dial tone." Dealing with this machine would be the end of me. How many nights had I been parading around with Alan, zooming to different bars under the guise of doing work? No doubt it had caught on by now, which left me in a bind. What other work could I do that didn't relate to making bodies? The eye had been uncharacteristically quiet recently. Then again, that might have something to do with my not returning her calls. "Fine." Hearing me say this, Alan perked up, no doubt thinking it had broken through my tough exterior. "One." "One call, and then another if you're feeling it." "One call. I choose which." It looked at me doubtfully. I hope this isn't an excuse for you to screen calls and run out my clock. You know I don't tire easily. Smart bastard. Too smart for its own good. That would get it killed one day. Or me. Or the both of us. I snickered. You said it yourself. You ain't a regular automatic. You'll get tired eventually. Don't call me that! I slammed the phone down. I was sitting in my favorite chair next to the phone, and Alan sat on the couch across from me like a therapist. It gave me a look that had a near-permanent home on its face. Disappointment. What? I spat out. That is the 6th call you've declined, Detective. If I didn't know any better, I would say you were trying to avoid holding up your end of the bargain. It isn't like that. These folks call for every reason. Cat in a tree, sun out too late, husband won't stop hanging with his buddies at the speakeasy. I'm not here to be an errand boy. I'm here to solve issues, city-sized issues. If you want to be an errand boy, go out and be my guest. Until I get a call worth my time, I'm staying here. Alan stood up and paced around my apartment, looking out the window at the street below. The floodlights on the plate had begun to shine, making up for the extreme loss of visibility thanks to the heavy snowfall coming in. Hell, I might end up celebrating New Year's holed up in this place, stuck under 10 feet of snow by January. What do they call you that you dislike so much? Alan asked. Something stupid. Nightcaller or something. The last 5 people had called me that. Fitting name, you must admit. But the I, leader of the Iron Hands, had already given me a nickname. I was no Nightcaller. I was the Iron Hand, though that wasn't something I'd call myself in public. Given the stories they spread about themselves, I wasn't sure how many people outside the 5th Precinct and the other crime families considered the Iron Hands a real organization, as opposed to the bogeyman. Do you dislike people so much? Alan asked, when I didn't respond. No, I want to help protect people, I said, and Alan's face relaxed. But it's best if the things I do stay under the radar, and only if cops hire me to deal with night calls. I don't want every Tom, Dick, and Harry begging me for help. But if our previous case was any indication, you're already quite well known. Not just to the police, but to all the criminal cartels as well, wouldn't you say? I got worried for a second that he was getting at something, but it was an innocent question. Alan was smart, but it didn't know about me and the Iron Hands. Not yet. It's different with civilians, Alan. It would cramp my style if everyone knew about me and what I do. Plus, people stress me out. I almost fell out of my chair when the phone rang, bouncing its way to the edge of the glass table before I grasped it and held the receiver to my ear. The labored breathing of the person on the other end came through. From just that, I guessed that whoever was calling me was elderly, smoked, and didn't have much time left. Hello? A woman's voice. She sounded distraught but calm, like she'd just smoked a pack in order to get herself down to a conversable level. Is this the man who takes the jobs the police don't? Maybe, I stated. Alan narrowed its eyes. I put my hand over the receiver and pulled it away from my mouth. What, Alan? Answer her properly. The woman was still struggling to say something, making noises of hesitation. I interrupted her before she short-circuited on the other end. What's the issue? My son, he disappeared. He was visiting me for a quick moment. He comes over once a month to check up on me, bring me scratch cards and food. He left to grab something from his car, but he never returned. I looked outside and his car was gone, and he would never run out on me. Well, ma'am, there's a first time for everything. I'm sure you'll see him next month, as usual. Please, I know he's in trouble. Call it a mother's intuition.
But my son needs help, and if the police won't look, I need someone who will."
The police won't look, meaning they'd been paid off by the mob in the area. The Iron Hands? No, they didn't do that. Not anymore. Last I checked, the only people who pulled poor saps off the street were junkies needing a ransom to get high, but they'd never steal a car. I had to admit, I was intrigued. That, combined with the look Alan was giving me, made me decide to accept the call. "Where?"
"Where he could be, I don't even—" "Oh, you mean the apartment building on the corner of Park Avenue and East 31st Street.
Kips Bay. 10 minutes. I slammed the phone down, stood, and grabbed my coat. Alan jogged after me, no doubt curious as to why I'd accepted it so quickly. So I filled it in. "It's in Kips Bay. Kips fucking Bay is a shithole and a breeding ground for fights. I forgot they'd been pulling people off the streets in Kips to use as meat shields during raids, which means that lady's son is in a bad position. Lord knows they wouldn't kidnap people from any other neighborhood."
"If I didn't know you any better, Detective Roche, I might think that you cared about this young man's life."
"No one deserves to get manhandled by the Maranzano mob, Alan, and I'll be the one to hammer that in. Grab your gun." I pulled my diamond back from its holster and popped it open to check the cylinder. Fully loaded with 7 rounds, and more in my pockets. Alan pulled out its 1911, the one it was borrowing from Commissioner Robbins. I turned, swung the door open, and began walking down the hall. When I glanced back, I realized that Alan wasn't following me. It was still standing in the doorway, looking at its gun as if it had just been pulled off a corpse. It must be stuck in a bad memory. It had used that gun to take its first life. I walked back and grabbed the 1911 to ensure Alan didn't jerk the trigger back in surprise as it was shaken from its daydreams. "Alan, we good?"
"Yes. I apologize, Detective. Let's go."
It holstered the gun, following behind me as my apartment door slammed shut. A lot had happened in the past month. Maranzano was getting greedy. He'd started moving more of his forces into Gramercy from Kips. The Iron Hands were quiet, which was always a bad thing, and the distinct lack of legitimate night calls had been eating at me. Whatever I was about to find saving this kid's life, I doubted it would be good. I'd told the old woman we'd be there in 10 minutes, which meant I had a schedule to keep, for once. Alan drove, getting us to the building in 7 minutes flat. We rolled up to the apartment complex and parked in front of the entrance. The streets were dead quiet for a change. It was an odd time, just after dusk. The city had an uneasiness, like the calm before a storm. The view out the window gave me all the insight needed about the area. It was cramped, dingy, looked far older than it actually was, and had too many crevices and cracks to count. The alleys could be hiding Brunos, junkies, or victims. 3 very good reasons to stick to the main road. The snow on the street was untouched, pristine, retaining everything that pressed into it like a fingerprint. The few yards of snowy street in front of me held a pair of tire tracks, confirming that a car, possibly Jeremy's, had indeed been here but now was gone. There was also a single set of footprints leading to and from the front of the apartment building. "Ready to roll?" I asked Alan. The machine was fiddling with its gun, making sure everything was in working order.
"Yes."
"Good. Let's get the info we need and move quick. I don't want to wait around for this kid's corpse to show up in the newspaper." We stepped out and headed to the apartment entrance. The lobby was illuminated by a single dangling light bulb. Behind the glass doors stood a small old woman biting her nails, tapping her foot sporadically. A nervous wreck. She was short, with a bent back, puffy gray hair, and eyes that I could tell would burn a hole in your heart if you even thought about disrespecting her. In contrast, the building she stood in looked like the place where hoodlums lived, not defenseless old women.
"Oh, Mr. Nightcaller, thank you for coming," she said, as I opened the door.
I rolled my eyes, but Alan cleared its throat, snapping me back to attention.
"My son, Jeremy. He's done nothing wrong in his life. He's an accountant, and he visits me often, brings me a meal each time he visits. Speaking of which, would you two like something to eat? You must be famished at this time of night."
I peered over at Alan, who took the lead.
"We would love that, ma'am."
Minutes later, we were in her rinky-dink apartment on the second floor. Alan and the woman sat at a tiny table fit for a single occupant, while I leaned against a nearby doorframe, inspecting the place. The wallpaper was intact behind hanging pictures of her now adult kids. It was also surprisingly clean. Her son must come over to help her with that. Good kid. Better than I ever was. I peered through the window adjacent to the small table. From here she had a clear view of the street below, but given her age she could be excused from missing a scuffle, if one had taken place. Alan was busy stuffing itself with beef stew. I had decided to forego the meal. She'd need the food if her boy was going to be out of commission for a while. She didn't seem to notice Alan was eating, preoccupied as she was.
"Could you tell us what happened, ma'am?"
Alan asked.
"Oh, it was terrible. He brought me the stew and told me he had a present for me, something he had been working on for a while. He's such a talented painter. I wonder why he never pursued it. Anyway, I waited for what seemed like forever, and when I looked down, he was gone. The tire tracks were all I saw. I called the police, and they said he must have run off. I pleaded and I begged them for any kind of help, and finally they gave me your phone number."
And here I thought the fifth was trying to be careful when giving my number out. It seemed like almost every precinct in the lower city was pointing people in my direction. Come on, people.
"How long ago was this?" Alan inquired. "Maybe 2 hours ago. Took forever to speak to the police."
"What kind of car does he have?" I piped up. The old woman turned around in her seat to face me.
"Oh, an old one, that's for sure. A Model T, I believe. He did love that car so very much. He wanted to buy me one, but I refused, told him to save his money. I wouldn't be able to drive it anyhow."
They hadn't been after the car. Her son must have had something valuable inside it. But if it had been something for this old dame, it couldn't have been anything terribly expensive. That led me back to my initial assumption. They'd needed him. To what end was the question. "You have a picture?" I asked. "Of Jeremy, I mean." The old woman stood, went over to a nearby frame, and handed me a picture of her son. It was his graduation, class of 1922, Cornell University. That would have been my alma mater, had I stayed. Jeremy was lean, smart-looking, with a head of black hair and a square face. We'd need this photo to identify the guy. Or the body.
"Please, bring him back safe. Please find him," she begged.
I nodded. "I'll do my damnedest." I signaled to Alan to follow me out. We needed a better look at the scene. It spoke some encouraging words to the old woman, and then we departed through the decrepit apartment back downstairs. The tire tracks in the snow were interesting. Judging by how prominent they were, the vehicle must have been carrying something heavy. The tracks led eastward. The car would have been dumped at the docks. Perhaps driven away by someone extra weighty? Jeremy's location was much harder to predict. Alan kneeled beside me to inspect the tracks, breaking my train of thought.
"Heavy set. Must have been carrying something big."
I thought the same thing.
"Then we have a lead. Eastward it is."
It got up and started off in the direction the car had gone, but I stopped it. "No, Alan, the car is useless to them. We need to track the person. The car they would have just dumped in the bay. But since there are no footprints—" Wait a minute.
"What?"
"The only footprints on this street are ours and the kids, and his are obvious. Here, the street is clean as well. So where did the people who kidnapped him come from? Alan was perplexed.
I'm not sure.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?